Now, the Larry O'Connor Show. At AM 630.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Larry O'Connor Show on WMAL. And my name is Stacy, Washington. And yes, that's me on the cover of NRA America's First Freedom this month. I wrote about the dust up at the Post-Dispatch and media bias. That's right. So if you're not an NRA member, you can't get one. But if you are, you can ask for that copy. And I'm on the cover. Yeah. So right now, it's my pleasure to welcome our guest for this segment. And do we have someone fantastic? Yes, it's Dr. Michael Makovsky, former Pentagon official who is now the president of the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. Thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Makovsky.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about this. It looks like, as usual, I can't say it's heating up. It stays hot in the Middle East. But now we're talking about Qatar.
Yeah, it is. It's an issue that kind of exploded onto into the front pages. And I had an op-ed on this issue in April in the Wall Street Journal, and I was surprised they even published it. But now, it's every day in the paper. Look, this is an issue that's been simmering. The Qataris are an interesting little country in the Mideast. They're very wealthy. It mostly comes from natural gas. They have a military base that we use as a base for a lot of our operations against ISIS and even Afghanistan, and it's a very good air base. On the other hand, they're giving money to terrorist groups like Hamas and even elements of Al-Qaeda in Syria. They're supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, and they host Al Jazeera and support Al Jazeera, which has been really a font of really anti-American, anti-Israeli, pro-radical Islam views. So their neighbors have gotten very frustrated with them, and it just kind of boiled over recently.
So it looks like there's quite a bit going on, specifically that Saudi Arabia and the allies have given them 2 more days to actually accept these demands. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's hard to know because it's already gone 10 days. In the past, pressure, this erupted a few years ago when the Qataris made some moves. So what they might do is, I don't know, maybe they'll make some concessions, and then they'll get, and then they'll be on probation for the others. That would seem the most likely, but I have to say I'm not sure because the one difference now than before is the Saudis are more aggressive than they ever have been before in a long time than they are in the region. So, and they have new leadership, including the new crown prince. So they're more aggressive. And I think the Egyptians are also more aggressive now on this issue. So it's hard to know. I mean, they've been really tough on the Qataris. And my hope is, I agree with President Trump on this, and I think the Saudis and the Egyptians are right, and the Qataris have to stop playing this double game, and they got to choose sides. And I think if they don't, then the United States should move our military assets from Qatar to the United Arab Emirates, even Saudi Arabia. I don't think we need to be there. We're protecting them from the Iranians. And if we haven't already, my hope is that the administration has told them that that's what we do. I don't get that sense because I think Secretary Mattis is not for making such a threat, but I think that's what we should be doing.
Okay, so a couple of interesting notes here. I've actually been to Qatar. It was just for 4 hours because I was stationed in Saudi Arabia for a TDY when I was on active duty in the Air Force. So I kind of, in my mind, I'm picturing this area. And just for people who are you're driving in your car listening to this, you're like, Qatar, come on, which one of the countries is that? Small peninsular country protruding into the Gulf, population of about 2.2 million. The majority of them are expats. They host the biggest U.S. military base in the Gulf, which you just pointed out. What is the likelihood of them moving the largest base we have from there into, say, Saudi Arabia, which we already have bases there, by the way?
Well, the UAE might be even more likely as an alternative. I think that's what our policy should be. I think Secretary of Defense Mattis is not into that. I think a number of military people are used to using the Al Udeid base, and it's a pretty advanced base. You might know better than me. But I can tell you we have a number of retired generals and admirals involved with us, and they've written op-eds about this. I've talked to them, and they think we could do without it. And we could just move our assets to the UAE or the Saudi Arabia, and we could be equally as effective. I think, though, a number of people inside the Pentagon don't think that way because they're just used to the way it is, and they'd rather stay. But I think we could move. And I think it could be a strong signal to them, and that would be, I think, the best thing we could tell the Qataris.
So speaking of opportunity, this would be the time it was most likely to occur, I'm supposing, under President Trump, because he's not operating under any pretenses that the previous foreign policy, the set parameters, that any of those are still in play. We have a whole new administration, and they're clearly taking a different tack on all of these negotiations.
Yes. And look, it seems based on what you read even, that he's gone against the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense on this issue. Tillerson has wanted to moderate things, mediate and moderate, and I think to mediate is fair. It's a good idea for Secretary of State Tillerson. Mattis was in Qatar in April, and he had a good meeting there. There was nothing that suggested much else. But I think when Trump went to Riyadh and he talked about there was a very strong support for the Saudis, and he talked about the anti-terror campaign. It might have helped embolden the Saudis and some of their neighbors say, okay, this is the time. And so far, the president has been siding with them and against his own secretaries on this issue.
Okay, so
that's what it seems like so far. That's certainly based on news reports. Yeah.
Right. So then you have the ruler, I guess the ruler of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Haddad Al Thani. That's a mouthful. He's written to the Emir of Kuwait, and so there's been a lot of things going back and forth. The letters are flying. There's been a suspension of diplomatic relations, and there's a lot of money and oil, natural resources involved in this as well.
100%. Look, their main money is the natural gas. And by the way, in fairness to the Qataris, they have reason to fear Iran because they also share a natural gas field with them. And I think we have to be careful that we don't push them to the Iranians. So I want to pressure them. I'd rather do as much of that privately as possible, but I don't want to push them into the hands of the Iranians. And you're talking about the money is a good point. One is setting aside their money. They have economic challenges because already I saw a report, I think it was yesterday, that contractors that are working to build up for their, I'm not a soccer fan, the World Cup that's supposed to be in Qatar are already making contingency plans about what they do if the Qataris can't, proceed. Obviously, they can't have the World Cup in a few years if in such a situation. So their neighbors, like the Saudis, have a lot of, what they're doing to them is they're really pushing them on this. And this is different than before. That's why I'm not sure it could be so easily resolved unless the Qataris give in. I really hope they do, because I think it's really unfortunate. They've been playing this double game, and I think a lot of Americans think, well, a lot of our allies do that, but they don't, actually. We have allies that don't play that. Obviously, Israel, France, England, they don't play those kind of games. Here you have Qatar. They're really playing both sides. They're hosting our military, which we're using to hit ISIS and other radical Islamicists, and like the Taliban in Afghanistan, but they're also supporting radical Islamic terror. They're hosting they're supporting a TV station that is just really terrible for American interests, promoting radical Islamic views, anti-American, anti-Jewish, anti-Israel. It's just not good. So I really would hope that they change.
I hope so too, but I keep going back and forth between the efforts that we're making towards forcing them to make a change, their proximity to some of our worst relations with Iran, and then we have 11,000 personnel there. So when you say the largest military base there in the area, 11,000 personnel, that's not okay, we're going to transfer everybody out of there in a couple of days. It's going to take an extraordinary amount of coordination to move troop levels of that size and their equipment, everything, to another base. Even if the base is in a neighboring country, it's still going to be a Herculean effort.
It would. it would take effort. You're right. It's not something you just flip a light switch on. It will take time. We've looked into the cost. I don't have it in my head. I apologize. But I've asked some of our generals about it, and they didn't think it was insurmountable, the cost. But I do think it's important. We've got to get more serious about facing radical Islam, extremism, and terrorist group. I mean, that's what we're doing in fighting ISIS. And therefore, our allies need to be real allies. So I do think we need to be really serious about this, and I do think we really have to push the Qataris. I think I give the President Trump credit on this, and I do think we need to support our Gulf allies on this issue. And I also think it's an important, you mentioned Iran correctly, I also think it's an important signal to Iran that we're about this. And actually that was, some people, I mean, I think the Saudis or whatever used that as a trigger that there was a comment that the leadership of Qatar made that it seemed too nice towards Iran, and they used that, I think, as a pretext. But I also think it's important. Don't forget, Iran is not just about Iran. It's about, they're the Shia version of radical Islam, just like ISIS and Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood is the Sunni version. And we need to show both sides that we're going to be tough against radical Islamic extremism and terror.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I'd love to see us be as tough as is humanly possible without destroying it's like a spider web of alliances and relationships in the Middle East that we have to maintain, and any wrong move can snap a part of it and destroy the entire web. And so it seems insurmountable, but clearly there are things we can do to facilitate a better relationship there and to cut down on the terror.
Yes, I agree with you. If I was engineering this, I wouldn't have engineered it just this way. I would have really tried to squeeze them as much privately as possible so you don't put them on the spot publicly. But this is what's happened. I think we need to pressure them further about threatening to move our military assets away from them and hopefully get them in line in the right lane here against the war on this radical Islamic terror.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thanks so much for coming on. Dr. Michael Makovsky, former Pentagon official. You're now the president of the Jewish Institute for National Security of America. And I will put both of these articles on my Twitter feed, Stacy on the right. Thanks for coming on today, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me. Good luck. Have a good day.
To talk to you.
Happy 4th also.
Oh, happy 4th. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's really great to have that expert perspective right there. I love it when people who are completely immersed come on and talk about these types of topics, because there's no way as a non-expert you can have all of these details and keep up with everything that's going on. It's a continually moving and shape-shifting type of a situation. And I'm really glad we were able to have that conversation and kind of get an update, especially going into the 4th. We have a lot of service members, 11,000 plus, who are going to be celebrating this holiday over in Qatar, and they're going to be hopefully eating lots of really great food at the mess and enjoying themselves, but also carrying out their duties. And it's important for us to not only remember them and to enjoy ourselves, but to hope and pray for the very best outcome here in this kind of, it really is one of the biggest messes ever. It's an ongoing biggest mess ever, and it continues with no end in sight. And Qatar is just another moving part in the entire Middle Eastern type of quagmire is such an overused word, but it's so appropriate for this particular situation. So check my Twitter feed for the stories here, and also follow me there. And I'm so glad to be in for Larry. I hope he's, so if you want to know what he's doing, first of all, you have to go on to Facebook, and you can see all the pictures, because he posts a lot of pictures of the things that he eats. He's a bit of a gourmet. You guys know this. You know this about him. So he and his wife are probably out enjoying amazing, good food while they're off today. And I'm glad to be sitting here for him on WMAL. So we're going to be talking to a couple more guests in the program today. We actually have Jason Riley. He's coming on to talk about his new book, Black Power. And we're also going to be talking with another great guest, Al Weaver, political reporter for the Washington Examiner. He's going to be with us a little bit later in the last hour of the program. So we're going to be having all of those great guests and more topics and information. We have traffic and weather and all of that good stuff. I'm throwing to those. In fact, I believe it's time right now. It's 2:49, WMAL Traffic and Weather. Matt DeFazio is in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning and Traffic Center.
Thanks, Stacy. Inner loop of the Beltway after Connecticut Avenue. That overturned tractor-trailer accident still out there. However, it's only blocking the 2 right lanes now, but it's still a mess. Down pole, down wires, fuel spill, load of steel pipes spilled out of there. Things are backing up pretty good now, too, that we're getting this. Now that we're at this point late in the afternoon, traffic backed up past Old Georgetown Road, well into the 270 spur. And with the rest of the volume on the inner loop, it's basically slow from the GW Parkway around to the scene. From the 270 spur to Maryland 95, still about a 90-minute drive. New big problem now, too, in the District Northwest. L Street at 4th Street. An accident there as the roadway closed down. Police and EMS on scene. About 4 vehicles involved. And southbound Baltimore-Washington Parkway at Powder Mill Road. Reports of an accident starting to trickle in there, too, so just keep an eye out. Now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Weather Channel forecast.
A warm and humid setup tonight. A few scattered thunderstorms look possible on the 4th of July. We'll see just a few scattered clouds around as we head through the nighttime hours. A low in the mid-70s. Intervals of clouds and sunshine on Tuesday to begin with. Scattered thunderstorms possible in the afternoon into the early evening. Should be done by fireworks time, though. Still, though, we cannot rule out a lingering evening storm. Highs on Tuesday in the low 90s. I'm meteorologist Mark Thibodeau from the Weather Channel on WMAL.
It's 3:50, WMAL traffic and weather, and it's 90 degrees.
Cars for Kids, KARS, Cars for Kids, 1-877 Cars for Kids, donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids, KARS, Cars for Kids, 1-877 Cars for Kids, donate your car today.
As temperatures continue to soar, make sure a child is never forgotten in a hot car. Download the Cars for Kids Safety app today at carsforkids.org/safety app.
1-877 Cars for Kids, KARS, Cars for Kids, 1-877 Cars for Kids, donate your car today.
My friends Sarah and Debbie Reynolds just did it again. It's Larry O'Connor, and here's another reason why I continue to recommend Sarah and Debbie Reynolds of the Reynolds team with Keller Williams. Sarah and Debbie just sold Roger and Angela's home for $30,000 over the asking price in record time. They used their exclusive database of ready buyers. Sure, you can hire any agent, and chances are they'll sell your home eventually. But here's the question. Can they get you a lot more money than you think is possible? It's all about what you put in your pocket when the home closes, right? That's why I only recommend my realtors, Sarah and Debbie Reynolds. The Reynolds team's top performing home buyer systems and their years of experience are critical to have on your side. Sarah and Debbie want to talk to you right now, so give them a call. 844-344-SOLD. That's 844-344-SOLD, or visit DebbieHasTheBuyers.com. That's DebbieHasTheBuyers.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alex McMillan of McMillan Sedation Dentistry, and I can provide a range of implant restorative treatment options that can be done in a single pain-free visit. What are the advantages of choosing McMillan Sedation Dentistry to perform your procedure? I have over 3 decades of experience, hundreds of hours of advanced training and certification to use a nationally recognized state-of-the-art implant treatment. Implants are a permanent and simple solution, the new standard of care for tooth replacement and denture stabilization. From a single missing tooth to an entire set of teeth, dental implants restore your appearance, speech, oral health, comfort, and self-esteem. And with dental implants, we can also permanently replace your dentures, which means no more slippage or adhesives ever again. Smile big. Eat what you want. It's time for you to smile easy. Call McMillan Sedation Dentistry today and make your appointment at 703-503-9490. Online at smileeasy.com. That's smileeasy.com.
The world used to be a different place. Doctors would make house calls. Gas station attendants would actually pump your gas. And people whose job it was to sell you things used to actually wait on you and be able to explain what they're selling. Well, good news. At least when it comes to appliances, you can get that level of service at Bray & Scarf. Our stores are staffed with smart, friendly people who want to help you find your dream kitchen. And we've got great prices on all the big names, including those super premium brands you can't find at the big box stores. Come talk to us at Bray & Scarf, where it doesn't cost more to get more.
Celebrate Independence Day at Bray & Scarf's Independence Bray Sale with exclusive double rebates on GE Profile packages going on now. Not $400, but $800 back on GE Profile at Bray & Scarf, the #1 local and independent appliance retailer with factory-trained experts who are ready to help. Hurry into any of their 13 locations or go to brayandscarf.com.
Live and local. You're listening to The Larry O'Connor Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Larry O'Connor Show on WMAL. Stacy Washington in for Larry. Thanks, Larry, for having me in today. We just had a great guest, Dr. Michael Makovsky, and we know a lot more about Qatar now that we've chatted with him. And I want to pivot over to leaner, smaller, sharper, deadlier White House payroll projected to save taxpayers $22 million. This is a great story because a lot of this good news is kind of getting put to the wayside. We're not having these good news stories coming in because we're too busy talking about supposed Russian collusion and how that is or isn't a thing. So let's get into this. It's President Trump, his White House payroll, and it's a leading indicator to his commitment to shrinking government. And I think it's a great reason for us to cheer on a Monday where our weather is good and, we've got the 4th of July tomorrow. The projected 4-year savings on the White House payroll could top $22 million. These savings come from President Trump's refusal to take a salary, as well as big reductions in other areas, including the absence of czars, the absence of expensive fellowships, and a huge reduction in spending on the First Lady's staff. So let's talk a little bit about the numbers. 110 fewer employees on White House staff under Trump than under Obama at this point in their respective presidencies. 5.1 million in payroll savings versus the Obama fiscal year 2015 payroll. Wow. So we're talking about fewer people there. 19 fewer staffers are dedicated to the First Lady of the United States. Currently, Melania has 5 staffers versus 24 who served Michelle Obama as of fiscal year 2009. So we're not comparing apples to oranges here. It's apples to apples. And assistants to the president. So these are interesting jobs because they're kind of not, there's no job description. It's just this is an assistant to the president. Great job to have if you can get it. But these people have to be paid. They're the most trusted advisors to him, and they're the same in the first year for both Presidents Trump and Obama. The Trump White House has Steve Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, Omarosa, Reince Priebus, Sean Spicer, and 17 others, making salaries of $179,700 each. The details here are kind of interesting, too. In Obama's first year, David Axelrod, Rahm Emanuel, and 20 others held a title with top pay of $172,000. So, pretty similar. And the highest compensated White House Trump staffer is Mark House, senior policy advisor. He has a salary of $187,500, and he's on detail from a federal agency, which allows him to exceed the top pay grade of $179,700 in Obama's administration. David Marcosi earned $193,000 on detail from Health and Human Services. So, more good news out of the Larry O'Connor Show on WMAL.
Premio Sausage presents life's biggest questions.
Mark, you just led your team to victory today. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, what kind of sausage are they grilling out there? I can practically taste it from here.
Let's go back up to the booth.
Well, Diana, by the smell of things, there's no doubt they're cooking Premio Italian sausage. Premio is made with butcher-quality cuts of meat, authentic Italian spices, and nothing else. Just add your own personal touch for a winning recipe.
When sausage is the question, Premio is the answer. Premio, the way sausage should be.
Where I grew up, very few people went to college. I'm kind of the nerd in the family. I picked UMUC because they're really military friendly. My degree plan kind of went right into what I was doing at work. My coworkers would say, how does she know this stuff? To be a positive role model for my nieces, it had to be UMUC.
With an affordable quality education from an accredited public state university, you can make the most out of your post-military career, like Shatasha Smith. At University of Maryland University College, serving the military is in our DNA, offering higher education to our country's service members since 1947. With 90-plus programs and specializations, UMUC strives to provide you with an education to match your skill set with the demands of today's employers and the resources to help you succeed, like our dedicated advisors, Veterans Resource Center, career mentoring, and more. With classes online and on-site at more than 20 locations in the D.C. metro area, UMUC gives you the flexibility your schedule demands. For all you want, it has to be UMUC. Learn more at umuc.edu/radio.
I want to give you a piece of financial advice for a great retirement. You need to learn about the 10-10 IRA, a 10% simple interest annual rate of return IRA guaranteed for 10 years. My friends, Dave and Lorette Ahrens, will provide you with all the details. They did it for me. I was amazed. Get your free information packet now. Call 888-411-4130. That's 888-411-4130. 888-411-4130.
WMAL FM Woodbridge, WMAL Washington.
105.9 FM and AM 630. WMAL Washington. A Cumulus station where Washington comes to talk. News now.
WMAL News at 4. I'm Maria Leaf. Well, it is a long ride home tonight in the inner loop of the Beltway. Matt DeFazio joins us now with details. And for Matt, for those who are just joining us this afternoon, what's caused all this backup?
Well, they missed all the fun earlier, I guess. Inner loop of the Beltway after Connecticut Avenue. There's an overturned tractor-trailer lane there. It was blocking everything up. People had to pass by on the shoulder. It's only blocking the two right lanes now, so the two lanes on the left do get by. But it spilled a load of pipe all over the road. Also a fuel spill, brought down a pole and some wires. It's a real mess, and things backed up rather nicely behind it. Things are still backed up now. Things are backed up past Old Georgetown Road, well into the 270 spur. And now you add in the afternoon volume for the inner loop of the Beltway. So things are basically slow from the GW Parkway all the way to the scene to make it from the 270 spur to Maryland 95. At the rate you're going, it is improving. That's the good news here. Only about 79 minutes to make that trip currently. Maria?
And Matt will have a full traffic update coming up in a couple minutes. A former middle school teacher in Charles County who admits that he is HIV positive has now been charged with sexually assaulting students.
No students have contracted HIV at this point, but tests are ongoing. According to the Charles County Sheriff's Office, they know of 7 victims of Carlos Bell, all students where he taught at Benjamin Stoddard Middle School in Waldorf.
These allegations are horrifying.
School Superintendent Kimberly Hill says a parent raised concerns back in December after seeing explicit messages on their child's phone. Test results on Bell's cell phone just came back last week.
I can assure you there will be very persistent follow-up to determine exactly what happened and how it was allowed to happen.
More charges may be coming as more kids get interviewed. Steve Burns on WMAL and WMAL.com.
And you can see a photo of Bell by going to our Facebook page, WMAL-DC, and our website, WMAL.com. An immigration detainee back in custody this hour after authorities say he briefly escaped a stopped vehicle near Dulles Airport, which prompted a 2-hour search. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office says Carlos Rivas Mendez was picked up on a public intoxication charge and then transferred to ICE, which had placed a detainer on him. And according to ICE, Rivas Mendez had been previously deported. They say today, when he was being transported, he complained that his handcuffs were too tight. So the vehicle stopped at the Dulles Greenway around noon to address that complaint when he escaped. Again, he is back in custody this afternoon. Maryland joining dozens of other states in refusing to provide personal information on voters to the Trump administration. Attorney General Brian Frosch making no bones about it.
It is designed to intimidate voters, and it's just been issued for the purpose of indulging the president's fantasy that he won the popular vote.
He says Maryland law prohibits the disclosure of the information they're asking for, like voting histories, addresses, and partial Social Security numbers. Even in Republican states like Mississippi, Kentucky, and Texas, officials have said that they will not be able to give all the information that the Trump administration wants. President Trump has been making phone calls to world leaders ahead of this week's G20 economic conference.
Syria is a place where fighter planes from both countries at cross purposes have been flying extremely close. Russia has been struggling from sanctions that started with its help of separatists in eastern Ukraine, including Moscow's annexation of the Crimean Peninsula. So House Republican Ted Yoho, a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, wants to put aside Russia's election and political email hacking.
Secretary of State and National Security Advisors, I think, is a better venue for that to be brought up. I think President Trump should focus on Syria, there with ISIS, and Ukraine.
Russia is said to be wanting back its diplomatic compounds in Maryland and New York that were closed by President Obama as punishment. Bob Costantini, Washington.
Checking your money, the Dow finished the day up 130 points. The S&P 500 up 6. WMAL traffic and weather next.
Hello. Are you listening?
Mark Levin.
I am the people's host. I take more calls than any other host.
Weeknights at 6.
That's right.
right. 105.9 FM and AM 630, Washington's Mall.
WMAL. Does your basement or crawl space have damp, musty odors? Do you worry about indoor gases and pollutants? Everyday living generates moisture that can nourish mold and odors, even asthmatic triggers. Indoor pollutants linked to respiratory ailments, birth defects, and cancers can become trapped in your home. You can't buy health, but you can buy Wave's moisture control and air quality products. Wave Home Solutions for a dry, healthy home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to dryhome123.com. That's dryhome123.com.
I make my Texas superfood from 55 raw, vine-ripened fruits and vegetables. You can see all 55 on TexasSuperfood.com.
All of the nutrients that we need on a daily basis. I lost 60 pounds. I mean, that's huge.
Since I've been on superfood, I haven't been sick.
I'm Dennis Black. Join us on TexasSuperfood.com.
TexasSuperfood.com.
Or call 877-55-TEXAS. That's 877-55-TEXAS. 877-55-TEXAS.
Get 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for just $159 plus a hallway clean for free. Book at ZeroResDC.com.
WMAL traffic and weather. Here's Matt DeFazio in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Just in case you missed it, inner loop of the Beltway after Connecticut Avenue. An overturned tractor-trailer accident there, only blocking the 2 right lanes now, and that's an improvement. Still a long ride to get past this when things are backed up. But basically, it feels like from the GW Parkway well over to Connecticut Avenue, so it's going to be a long ride. Traffic sponsored by the Detox and Treatment Helpline. In the district northwest, L Street at 4th Street. You've got an accident there, closing the ropeway down. 4 vehicles involved. Police and EMS on scene. Virginia 95, northbound approaching Lorton Road. An accident in the left lane there. Fairfax County Parkway northbound at Terminal Road. Look out for a crash in your right lane. And Metro's Orange Line. Expect delays to New Carrollton due to a switch problem at West Falls Church. Drug or alcohol problems for you or a loved one can be solved. And with insurance, treatment may be at little or no cost to you. Call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. 800-430-4149. Now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Weather Channel forecast.
Chance of a shower or thunderstorm tonight, low 74. Partly cloudy to start the day tomorrow. Another chance for storms in the afternoon. High 91. It's 90 and only 91 at Reagan National. I'm Maria Leaf on Washington's Mall, WMAL.
Now, the Larry O'Connor Show. And AM 630.
Everybody, welcome back to Larry O'Connor on WMAL. I'm Stacy Washington filling in for Larry, who is off today and enjoying fantastic weather. It's my pleasure to welcome Jason Riley, a nationally acclaimed journalist, author of the new book, False Black Power. He's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute and columnist for the Wall Street Journal. It's my honor to get to interview you for the first time. Hey, Jason, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Stacy.
All right, so let's talk about this. I actually got the little blurb a couple weeks ago and was reading up on your new book, and it couldn't come at a better time. Why did you write False Black Power?
Well, it's really a critique of a civil rights strategy, which was to, since the 1960s, black leaders are really focused on acquiring political power, electing more black officials, and the thinking was that if we can put more blacks in office, socioeconomic gains would follow naturally from that. And I thought, the end of the Obama presidency, and Obama, I think, was really the culmination of that strategy. I thought the end of his presidency was a good time to look back and assess whether this has been an effective strategy in terms of addressing racial inequality.
Well, I can tell you from all the studying that I've done, it's not, but I love the way you're connecting this together. So what in False Black Power, you talk about the increase in the political influence and how it fails to deliver better lives for African Americans. Why has the political strategy of civil rights leaders left so many behind? And I know it's socioeconomics, it's poverty, it's all of that. We all know what the big drivers are, but why doesn't giving politicians more power work?
Well, the strategy has worked in terms of electing more black officials. The number of black elected officials over the past 5 decades has grown from fewer than 1,500 to more than 10,000, including a black president. And you've seen blacks win, mayors of major cities from Atlanta to D.C. to Detroit, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and so forth. So it has worked in that sense. But those socioeconomic gains that we were promised have not come. And I think it's evidence that seeking political power should not be the priority among blacks. Doesn't mean you disengage, you don't run for office, you don't vote. No, that's not what I'm saying. But putting your faith in a political savior to help deliver the good socioeconomically, I think is giving blacks a false sense of power. I think real power comes through the development of human capital, the development of a value system, cultural capital, habits, behaviors, values, and so forth. And when blacks were focused on that in the first half of the 20th century, before the strategy shift took place, you saw gaps closing in income, in home ownership, in educational achievement, and so forth. Since the 1960s, since we've seen this shift in strategy, you've seen that progress stall. You've seen it in some cases retrogress. I mean, under Obama, for instance, racial gaps in poverty, racial gaps in home ownership, racial gaps in household income all widened. And so I think it's clear that the focus should not be on electing more black officials. It should be on developing that human capital that blacks were focused on in the first half of the 20th century.
So well put. And this is why everybody, you just have to buy the book. Honestly, you just have to buy the book so you can understand exactly everything, because you go so much deeper into these in the book. And we only have a few minutes left, but I want to get to two more questions that I have for you. First of all, and this is so important, what impact did President Obama's election and presidency actually have on African Americans?
Well, I mean, I think it gave blacks a sort of psychic boost. Proud to have a black person in office. But, a psychic boost doesn't pay the rent. It doesn't pay the mortgage. So I think it was a false sense of power that blacks received there. And that's unfortunate. I think there are some good things that public officials, that politicians can do, but I don't think Obama was willing to do those things. I think he was more focused on what a lot of politicians are, getting reelected, pleasing the special interests that helped put him in office, and not necessarily the black voters who helped put him in office. So you saw him, opposing things like school choice, voucher programs, and so forth, which are hugely popular in the black community, but he couldn't support them because that's not what the teachers unions like, and he needed that teachers union support.
Right, but even in the face of the fact that you and I both know, Jason, that those kinds of programs actually, over time, they change the lives of the people who are involved in them and help to start them on a different trajectory so that they can pull themselves out of poverty. But this was not as important as being reelected.
No, it wasn't. In fact, when Obama did on occasion talk about cultural things like absent fathers and so forth, he would get slammed by the left, by black elites in particular, who wanted him to keep the focus on white racism and what whites are doing to blacks, not what blacks should be doing for themselves. So it really wasn't politically expedient for him to go down the path that I think leads to true black power. And then that's unfortunate, but those are the incentives put in place for a politician, which I think is why electing more black officials should not be the focus if we want to close gaps between racial gaps in this country.
Okay, so you said habits, behaviors, values. When people like Bill Cosby and others talk about habits, behaviors, and values, you're immediately panned, you're dismissed. Everybody can't behave like that. Nobody's interested in hearing about that. But isn't a radical change in the habits, behaviors, and values, wouldn't those three things in the black community, changes in those areas, result in better relations, not just with neighbors in communities, but with neighbors outside of the community and with a greater population at large, improving the kind of reputation of the black community and also really changing the trajectory? Absolutely. And I say this based on the evidence of what was happening in the first half of the 20th century, when racism was widespread, legal, when blacks had virtually no political power. You saw racial gaps in incomes and educational attainment and blacks entering the skilled professions. You saw racial gaps closing. Slow but steady progress was being made. Blacks were not only making gains in absolute terms, they were catching up to whites. And this is progress we've seen stalled since this shift in strategy. We talk a lot. The left loves to talk about the legacy of slavery and the legacy of Jim Crow. We don't talk a lot about the legacy of the welfare state, the legacy of the Great Society. And that's not where the civil rights movement today wants to focus. I think that's not where the money is, to be blunt about it. It's really become a civil rights industry, and keeping the focus on white racism is a very lucrative industry these days. Wow. You're just exactly on time, Jason. Fantastic. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you, Stacy.
The book is really great. I'm going to put it in my Twitter feed, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks for the work that you're doing.
Enjoy your holiday.
Oh, you too. All right. We'll be back with more. Stay right there.
105.9 FM and AM 630. Washington's Mall, WMAL.
Celebrate America's independence with America's luxury brand, Ted Britt Lincoln. Experience customization you can only get from Lincoln Black Label. And Ted Britt for Life. Lifetime vehicle coverage you can only get from Ted Britt Lincoln of Chantilly. We'll even pick up and deliver your vehicle for all maintenance and warranty service. Prestigious Lincoln Black Label, protected by Ted Britt for Life lifetime vehicle coverage. Shop online now at tedbrittlincoln.com.
Celebrate the 4th with huge savings during Cabela's 4th of July sale. Take your family camping with 40% off Cabela's getaway tents. And hit the lake with 35% off Cabela's towables, airhead tube ropes, and accessories. Plus, get a Cabela's stainless steel tabletop gas grill for only $99.99. And for a limited time, take an extra 20% off the lowest marked price on all Cabela's brand clothing and footwear. Find these fantastic deals and more at Cabela's.
It's 4:14. WMAL traffic and weather. Matt DeFazio is in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Taking a look at the inner loop of the Beltway after Connecticut Avenue. That overturned tractor-trailer accident still out there, still blocking the 2 right lanes. Going to be a mess for a long time here. At least you're up to 2 lanes that are passing by on the left-hand side now. It was just a shoulder before. Things are pretty backed up, as you might imagine, to get from the 270 spur to Maryland 95. Plan on nearly an hour and a half to make the drive. Now, not helping anything around the other side, the off-ramp to the Eisenhower Avenue connector. You've got an accident there. Thankfully, this one off the shoulder. Also, Silver Spring, Colesville Road at the Beltway. Watch for a vehicle fire. In the district northwest, L Street at 4th Street, an accident scene there as the roadway closed down now. And Virginia 95 northbound approaching Lorton Road. Look out for a crash blocking the left-hand lane. Now from GarageDoorRepair.com, the WMAL Weather Channel forecast.
A warm and humid setup tonight. A few scattered thunderstorms look possible on the 4th of July. We'll see just a few scattered clouds around as we head through the nighttime hours. A low in the mid-70s. Intervals of clouds and sunshine on Tuesday to begin with. Scattered thunderstorms possible in the afternoon into the early evening. Should be done by fireworks time, though. Still, though, we cannot rule out a lingering evening storm. Highs on Tuesday in the low 90s. I'm meteorologist Mark Thibodeau from the Weather Channel on WMAL.
Right now it's 90 degrees at 4:15.
At Advance Auto Parts, you can find the knowledge and parts you need to get the job done. Think of us as that friendly neighbor who genuinely cares about you and is always willing to lend a helping hand without expecting anything in return. Unlike Jerry, who always has something come up and then wonders why he isn't invited over on Sundays. You know what you did, Jerry? Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road.
You have no desire to do anything to get up, to move.
Dr. Will Sauvé at Greenbrook TMS Neuro Health Centers.
Depression is one of the few kinds of illnesses that takes over your identity. So people wake up every morning, you look in the mirror, and you see that depressed version of you. You do that enough times, and that becomes you.
Finally, there's hope for those struggling with depression with TMS therapy at Greenbrook TMS Neuro Health Centers.
TMS therapy, it's a treatment that's been FDA indicated for the treatment of depression. I look forward to talking to patients who have completed their treatment because so many of them are in remission. So many of them are so happy that you really do get to see people walking out of here feeling completely well.
I don't know where I would be or what I would have done without TMS.
I can't really say in a strong enough way how much this treatment, this center has meant to me. I'm very happy.
Accepting most insurances, including Medicare. For your free consultation, visit hopetms.com.
Listen every weekday morning at 5:42 for today's military news, brought to you by Geico Military. These news reports come directly from the United States Department of Defense at defense.gov. You can find today's story by visiting WMAL.com/todays. Geico's military program has been an important part of their business since it began in 1936. Geico understands the unique insurance needs of our military personnel and their families. That's why they provide a dedicated staff working solely on their behalf. The stories that have been breaking while you've been at work. This is the Larry O'Connor Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Larry O'Connor Show. You're listening to the dulcet tones of Stacy on the right, filling in for Larry while he's out today. I'm with you the whole show, and we're just slamming and jamming. Right now, I want to get back to President Trump, who really held the line the other night, speaking to the base. Let's listen to cut 3.
Their agenda is not your agenda. You've been saying it.
I will never stop fighting for you. I am delivering on trade, on the economy, on the Supreme Court, on the Second Amendment, on our military, for our veterans, and on our borders, where we are doing record stoppage.
Unbelievable. So he's going down and listing the achievements that he's been able to make, and I love it because this is the stuff the media isn't reporting on. And it's okay. It's all right. You don't have to cover it, media. He's just going to go straight to the people. And I think that's one of the things that that's why they're all up in a tizzy. They've been unable to shut down the Twitter feed. They've been unable to stop him from holding these rallies. They've been unable to stop him from going around them and just speaking the truth about what he's been able to accomplish. There's so much more to be done. And there are some areas where, frankly, I've been disappointed. I've talked about those. But going into the 4th of July, looking at where we would be if we had President Hillary Clinton, are you kidding me? That's even a reason to have another day of celebration on the 5th. We could keep this thing going all week and head straight into the weekend, just celebrating and enjoying ourselves on that alone. Not President Hillary Clinton, not President Bernie Sanders. We actually have someone in the White House who knows how to balance a budget and has written on the front of checks before. He's not just cashing them, he's paying people. He understands what business is. And he also apparently is quite compassionately minded towards Charlie Gard. I'm reading on the Hill right now. They have a statement from President Trump. He tweeted out that if he could help little Charlie Gard, as per our friends in the UK and the Pope, we would be delighted to do so. The sad thing about this story is that Charlie Gard's parents don't need the help of the President of the United States. They already raised enough money to bring him here to get the experimental treatment. It's that single-payer, government-run health care that's preventing this little child from being able to access our world-renowned healthcare system, which, by the way, notice you don't have Americans traveling to Canada, single-payer, Great Britain, single payer. You don't have Americans going there so they can partake in groundbreaking